And is that even viable when the Johnson case could change the structure of it all? Like, I understand the complexity when you talk about it, but what is it that you all need? Like, what is the thing? And even if that directive is temporary because Johnson's still pending, what's the thing that's going to help guide everybody in the Title IX realm in particular?
Yeah, well, I think, again, whether you're talking Title IX or any of the executive orders, I think what we hope for, and for parents mention this, I mean, you just want clarity and consistency on what the rules and parameters are across the entire spectrum. And after that, then you put the puzzle pieces together, and we all have our own institutional strategies that allow us to move forward. So no matter where a directive comes from, I think having some indication from some entity, even if for a short period of time, as you referenced, there are court cases moving forward at different paces and different cadences, but any level of finality for a period of time, I think allows us to start to move forward and enact one of these models I mentioned before.
When Jeffrey Kessler says this almost undoubtedly will end up in another court case if because schools are left to their own devices, how not encouraging is that, given that you represented the three parties in the House cases and all this other stuff?
I don't know. It's hard to remember a time when we weren't involved in court cases in college athletics, right? I think that is, become a consistent theme, and it's really critical that we all are tracking on those. And certainly our local general counsels, as well as conferences, are always going to be monitoring that. We all want to do things the right way. We want to make sure we can move forward, but I think we live in a society that's really litigious, and there's some open and some valid questions that whether it's athletes or other entities are asking. It's just how they're going to work through the court system. So we're going to have to be patient and then ready for the next one that gets started.
When you look at the filling scholarships, and if it's a 105 for football, there has to be either you take it away from another men's sport or you have to add to a women's sport. Do you anticipate that sport, football, being filled all the way to 105 if that ends up being the final number? And if so, how would you offset that to ensure that you're in compliance with Title IX?
Yeah, well, that assumes you don't add any additional revenue into the system, and I think in some ways you're sort of rebuilding this whole plane while you're trying to fly it. But I think those are conversations in football specifically, but across all sports. We're really going to be talking a lot about what's most impactful for a program. Is it in scholarships? Is it in that NIL payment component? And making sure that every dollar that we put into the system is going to need to have a clear ROI, and that is, obviously has a lot to do with how's it going to impact winning, how's it going to help them graduate and be good young men and women. And so, as opposed to getting out in front and saying, hey, we want to do this, and we don't know those numbers in finality yet, we want to understand where should we put our resources that's really going to help us win, and that's when we make a decision about what those numbers look like, where we put it, and what adjustments we might make.
How much
As you're planning
in terms of football spending, as you look at whatever it is, $22 million for next year?
Yeah, obviously there's still a lot of moving pieces, and to say that is complex right now would be an understatement in terms of how all those things are going to shake out with the settlement and how you apply it. But I mean, we are committed to competing at the highest level, and so a lot of work to do in the meantime, a lot of things to think through, but we're committed to doing that and making sure our football program and all our teams continue to be successful.
I know the breakdown has been widely discussed. Should it be based on student-athlete male-female ratio, or should it be based on, say, marketability, which football certainly is at the top of that? Where do you fall right now? Where do you think it's going to lead to?
I think there's, again, enough open questions that I don't know if any of us know exactly where that's going to land. And, we're running a lot of different models, and so that we're prepared for all of those different options. And perhaps there'll be some guidance that's very clear. We've not gotten that on a lot of topics so far to this point. But until then, I think all you really can do is sort of model out different options of how you would, how you lay it out, where you distribute resources based on what that landscape looks like. So I feel like regardless of where that is, we're going to be prepared to execute and move forward.
Some of your fellow conference members are doing things with their NIL situation where points are being distributed for season ticket holders, or events being held where they can raise money on the campus. where's Iowa at with that stuff?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and one that we're all continuing to evaluate in terms of what's best for our campus, but I think also what allows some institutions in some states to do that, and what prohibits others. And so some of that has to do with NCAA rules, current NCAA rules, and some of it has to do with state laws. And so whether or not we would execute things in exactly the same way, we certainly want to have all of those options available to our donors, whether those are donors to the Swarm and the great things they're doing, or our donors to our institution. So while we haven't ruled out anything new yet, we're certainly talking about that on a daily basis.
Beth, is it worth asking if you're going to fully fund revenue sharing in a Big Ten school?
I think our goal is always, obviously, to make sure you have the resources available to compete. And so, that's what our priority is, on making sure we prepare and position ourselves to do just that.
With the 21, 22 million, whatever the number is, that's obviously a significant number. Do you see cutting sports as part of getting to that number as you're kind of trying these different models?
We're not having any discussions about cutting sports.
Rich Clark had mentioned that they sent out surveys to CFP to get ready for potential home sites and all that, and how you would handle it, hotels, all that stuff. And